Hey guys, Saintvicious here, and I'm going to be doing the patch 5.2 rundown. So let's get started with it. We got the DFG, they basically removed it from the game. It's out of the game, not in there anymore. And I think this is a really good change just because this item is pretty stupid and pretty hard to play against. Like, I've seen an Ahri one-shot like a 4,000 health Mundo with DFG, and he had like 180 MR or some shit like that. Like, that's not supposed to happen. Like, you're not supposed to have an item that just completely negates all tank stats whatsoever, and then like all sorry, I had the piano guy on, but it's supposed to negate all like the stats somebody has. Or imagine if you're squishy against that. You have like 1,800 health, and you're just walking up to like an Ahri or a Fizz or TF or any of these champions that have spiking damage abilities, and they just insta kill you. Or even Annie. Annie is like one of the worst scenarios of this. So I'm glad they took this out of the game because it's an item that's really hard to play against and really hard to outplay. This is a change from the last patch, pretty much, where they said they're gonna make overlapping crowd control effects actually work. Hopefully they work now. Who gives a shit about that though? Like, we'll see if it works. If it works, they said it worked last patch. If it works, I don't know. I never trust this. All right, attack move commands and stealth. If you're using attack move to move in to places while in stealth, you should probably stop. Issuing an attack move command while in stealth will cause you to attack the nearest target even if you're in stealth. I think people are gonna like. It's gonna take a while for people to get used to this change if they're like playing Twitch or Shaco or something like that. But I think overall this is like whatever. It's like a quality of life change for if you're like face checking into brushes and things like that, because that's the main reason why people use attack move a lot of times is they'll attack move into brush so that they can auto attack immediately. See, they got the Tristana changes. These are really interesting changes, and I actually didn't expect them to go down this route with Tristana. So they nerfed her attack speed per level down to 1.5, which is basically going to be like the attack speed dagger worth of attack speed. It's like probably about five or 600 gold that they're removing from Trista's kit, just straight up, just from leveling from 1 to 18. So that's actually a pretty big hit to her late game scaling overall. And then they also nerfed her armor and her base health, which I think is to go more with the later changes later in the kit. Because before, Triss was like really kind of weak in the mid game, and her laning was like pretty good, but she couldn't like fight you well under turret and things like that. She wasn't very good against champions like Corki, who just have better poking abilities and just better trading overall. But I think with their new abilities, she'll be able to trade a lot better in lane. So these changes are just to go along with that. Then they have passive, draw the bead. Range per level is now 7. So I'm not really sure the math on that, but I'm pretty sure she'll have like close to Caitlyn's range when she's level 18, which is still a pretty damn big amount of range. It's still gonna allow you to siege turrets and be late game Tristana, but you're just not gonna be auto attacking somebody from across the entire screen, which is just absolutely ridiculous. Didn't make any changes to rapid fire, so Tristana can still, pump out that really high attack speed steroid if she wants to pop somebody really fast. And then Rocket Jump, they changed this. Rocket Jump now gains a 20% increased damage for each stack of explosive charge on the target. This goes up to 100% for the base charge stack. So this thing has a base damage of 180, and of course it'll just pretty much double the damage if you have all the stacks on them. Which means, I mean, it could be a pretty big nuke in the lane phase. This kind of ability kind of reminds me a lot of like Twitch, where as an opening ability, you're like, like that's not that much damage. Like that's kind of an annoying poke kind of amount of damage. But if you allow the explosive charges to stack up, just like Twitch's expunge, it's just really dangerous. I think extended trades with Trist will be where Trist excels at now, rather than just like blowing people up with their ultimate and E combo. And this is the explosive charges I was talking about. Tristana throws a grenade charge on a target. After 4 seconds, the charge explodes and deals area of effect physical damage. Every basic attack against a target with explosive charge adds an additional stack that increases explosive charge's final explosion damage by 25%, stacking up to 4 times. So like the base damage on this is 100, but it has a really good AD ratio. 1.10 is actually a 1.1 on a AD carry's ability is actually really nice. And the fact that you have such a good ratio on it, because it has a 100% damage increase, having that 1.1 ratio is just going to be really nice. So it'll have like a base, it'll be like 200 damage, and what would Trist usually have like around 380 in the late game. So this can probably spike somebody for maybe around like 600 or 700 damage in like the real late game. So that's gonna be a really good finisher ability. If you just hit them with the E and then hit them with the W, like you jump on them and ultimate them, it'll give Trist a really nice way of setting up her her resets, but it won't be as just like up front where it's just like, damn, like Trist just jumped on me and one-shot me and there's nothing I could do. Like if she starts autoing you, you're like, oh shit, I need to like walk away from her. I need to get out of here. So it gives a little bit more room for counterplay, but I don't know. I think Triss. I have to see her lane phase is the big thing. I have to how to judge Triss, because I think Triss will still have a really good late game. She'll still be a really great late game champion, but I think her lane phase is going to be a little bit stronger. So probably a slightly weaker late game and much stronger lane phase is what I'm getting out of Trist here. Then of course they nerf Buster Shot's AP ratio because they don't want people playing AP Trist and just going ham on people. And it's pretty funny they did this change when they nerfed DFG as well, because I don't think anybody's going to be playing AP Trist now that DFG is not in the game. It just makes it way too hard to one-shot people. Yeah, okay, so this is a big change to Ahri. So Orbit Deception now gains massive movement speed while her orb is traveling that rapidly decays over time. This is kind of like to go around with Ahri's kiting and positioning the return on the Q. Like, you'll throw the Q out and some people will dodge it, but if you have increased movement speed, you can adjust the route of the orb as it comes back to you a lot faster. So that'll be pretty good. I think Ahris that are actually excel at positioning will be able to take advantage of that really well. Foxfire targeting system has been approved. Attempt to acquire a new target if the original target is going to die from Foxfires. That's just, yeah, less potential of your Foxfire fizzling if you kill somebody, so yeah, that's pretty good. And then they 30 damage on her W. That's base damage per a Foxfire. That's actually a really, really big change. That's 90, what is it? You do 50% on each subsequent charge, if I remember right, on Foxfire. So that's like, what, like a 60 damage change or something like that? I think that's pretty good for just on a base ability. Like, that's actually a lot of damage. And I know that they lower the damage from the E. Like, they took this charm target no longer takes 20% damage, and they took DFG out of the game. But I think Ahri is going to have a lot better sustained damage as she kites people around with her ultimate. And I think that's kind of what they want out of Ahri. But I think if she gets enough AP, she'll still be able to one-shot somebody. It's just you actually have to hit them with your abilities rather than just, like, DFGing them and then ulting and then hitting them with 1Q and they die. Which is the most frustrating thing ever. Let's see. But they also increased the AP ratio on E, even though they did take this 20% thing down. But nobody really maxes out the E. So I don't really see this being that big a deal. Like 20 more damage after you have all the points into it, and they increase the AP ratio. That's whatever. That doesn't matter that much. Then Spirit Rush is now more forgiving when dashing through or over terrain. I've seen people face check and, you know, around mid, like the side brushes or whatever, and like the little tiny walls that are in between that. I've seen people face plant into that wall so many times. Like, if somebody's playing Ahri, even if it's like a really good player, it's like Shifter or somebody playing it, I'll see one of them do that like at least once every single game. It's just too funny. So I think just about anybody can have that happen to them. Let's see. Akali, Crescent Slash no longer detonates on Mark of the Assassin. This is a revert to a change that they did a couple patches ago. Actually, a lot of patches ago. Probably about a half a year ago. And I'm not really sure why they did this change. I thought this was like a really good quality of life change to Akali, having the Crescent Slash be able to detonate on that. But I do agree with the later change here, with the Shadow Dance, where it's 100 less range. It actually makes it to where you have a little bit more reactionary time when you're against Akali. Like, Akali has a ton of range, not only to get on her target, but to also like get out of situations where she like R's to a minion or R's to another person that splits up really far away from where her shroud is. So it'll make it a little bit easier to kite her. Like Tristana and Caitlyn have a pretty similar attack range to that 700 range. So it'll give you a little bit better counterplay to that. And you can pull her in. I don't know. I think you just be able to kite her a little bit better. She'll probably still be able to just one-shot 80 carries if she's fed and just take them out really easy, but I don't think it's going to be as bad. I don't know. People overrate Akali in solo queue. They think she's a lot worse than she really is, but she's probably really, really abusive in the lower brackets. Let's see. Annie. Tibbers gets Molten Shield when Annie's does and runs super fast. Alright, so this is an interesting change because I like it because it adds like a little bit of skill value into Annie. There's also an indirect nerf to support Annie. Not that much, but it's still some. Because most support Annies only get 1 point in E. and that's just for trading purposes or for if people go on you. So now the level 1 of that, you're just going to have 10 armor and magic resist rather than 20. But the good thing is when you have the Tibbers, you know, you just put the E on them, and it gives them this little mini movement speed burst. If you guys ever played Scion, like, you know, when you press any of your abilities when you're in your dead farm, it's probably going to be pretty similar to that, where you just have this little burst of movement speed that decays out really fast. And this will be good for maybe if you need to, like, catch up to somebody and just, like, fall, because, you know, if you're standing next to Tibbers, they have, like, the immolation aura. You can just, like, follow them along with Tibbers and keep the same movement speed. And then you could also just use it to get that last auto attack with Tibbers. Like, really good Annie players they'll micro Tibbers just super well, and that's what really separates a good Annie player from a bad Annie player. Like, anybody can just flash Tibbers somebody, but the good Annie players know how to micro the bear really well. And of course, on top of this, the Tibbers also gets the Molten Shield, so it's going to have the return damage if you auto it, and then it's also just going to have 50 armor and 50 magic resist. Is going to make it ridiculously tanky, so these are really good buffs and changes to Annie, I think. And I think Annie is seeing a lot of play right now, especially as support. And I've even seen people playing her mid a lot. Like, there's like Annie bot and Blem, and some other people play her mid, and they're really high elo with it. So I think Annie's in a really good spot right now, and I think she's going to be played a lot. Let's see, Azir. These aren't really any changes. It's just like a range indicator thing. Still think Azir is like a beast. They really need to nerf Azir. He's going off way too hard. It's too much. And this is an interesting change. I'm surprised it came so fast, because like Cassiopeia just now started seeing play a lot. Like, there's a lot of people who picked her up recently, and she even showed up in a couple of tournament matches. The mixed results, but I think Cassiopeia is actually like secret OP. I think in solo queue she's so good, she's so strong. Her E healing, just everything about her kit is just really nice right now. There's a lot of different builds you can go with her, and she's a super big lane bully. She'll crush you in lane. So what they ended up doing is they gave her a lot of mana changes. Like, maxing out the Q gives you it increases the mana cost on the ability so much. So I'm not even sure if people are gonna max the Q first anymore. They might put like 3 points in it, and then they probably won't put any more points in it. I don't know. I have to see and talk to some of the Cassiopeia players, but this is actually going to be a pretty big lane nerf to her, and even a late game nerf. So maybe people have to go with the Roa build or like mana builds. Like, a lot of people have been skipping the mana builds and going like Morello's or something random like that. But I'm not sure people are going to be able to do that anymore with these mana changes. And then the Twin Fang at max rank, it costs 90 mana. Like, that's so much mana to have on an ability that you're spamming that fast. So you're definitely going to have to get some of these mana items now just to support your abilities. But I still think that Cassiopeia is going to be a pretty decent pick, and her scaling into the late game is really nice with her passive. And she's still probably going to be a pretty big lane bully if you know how to use your mana properly. Fizz. I don't know. When I look at these numbers, I think it's a nerf to Fizz, but I talked to Keen, and Keen thinks it's a buff to Fizz. So they basically gave Fizz the Ahri treatment, where you do a lot less damage if you're just hitting with your basic abilities, and then you do a lot more damage if you hit them with your ultimate. So I think the combo now with Fizz is just going to be Q in and like ultimate while you're queuing, so you're guaranteed to hit the fish, and then just drop your full damage combo on them. And that'll probably one-shot just about anybody. But if you miss the fish, you're going to have a lot harder time killing somebody. Because, like, a lot of Fizzes, they'll literally just, like, they'll troll pull, and then they'll flash on top of somebody and then Q them. And that's, like, their one-shot combo. They don't even have to hit the ultimate because their other ability, because of his other abilities are so strong that they just insta-kill you, and there's almost no counterplay. So now with Chum the Waters, it gives you a little bit of counterplay where you can get QSS to drop the fish, or you can have, like, Banshees or things like that. And if you can get the fish off you, then you're probably pretty safe. Let's see. Then what else we got? We got Kha'Zix. Oh yeah. I think Fizz will be in a pretty decent spot right now with this. He'll still be okay. He's not a very popular pick right now, but I still think he'll be pretty good. And Kha'Zix, this is just like a tooltip fix. His E was actually 12-second jump time the whole time, when it said 14 at max rank. Whatever, it's a bug fix. Nidalee can also hunt neutral monsters. There's actually a lot of people I see jungling Nidalee in solo queue right now. And if you're a top-tier Nidalee player, you can actually go off really hard. And she's a really snowbally champion and super abusive in solo queue, because if you hit any of her abilities on somebody, if you hit a spear like randomly out of a brush on somebody, you will just insta-kill them. You'll just like one-shot that person. And not that many junglers can duel her head-to-head if she hits any of her abilities. So Really fun jungler, and I think this will give her some cool new stuff, like being able to jump to Dragon and Baron over the walls a lot easier. And it also give you maybe some walls that you can jump in the jungle if you're chasing somebody or kiting them around. So that'll be really good. Let's see. Rek'Sai. I don't really agree with these nerfs just because I think after the last set of nerfs and people learned to play against Rek'Sai and actually understood her kit and how, what its strengths and weaknesses are, Rek'Sai, I think she took like a drastic power shift, especially in competitive play. And I still thought she was really good, and she's still a really top tier jungler. And maybe even after these changes, she'll still be a really top tier jungler. But I don't know. I don't think she needed these nerfs, especially when there's champions like Jarvan running around, and like Vi is gonna start to become more popular, and there's gonna be a couple other like random junglers that actually fit. Can match, like you can play Nocturne into Rek'Sai. I think after these nerfs, like there's gonna be no real difference with Rek'Sai and Nocturne as a champion, except for the fact that I think Nocturne just probably has a better ultimate. And I think this really takes Rek'Sai out of the top tier position, but she'll still be a played jungler. Like I don't really think that she needed any of these nerfs. Like I thought that her last iteration of her changes, she was just a fine champion, and I don't know. I'm just super confused by all these champions. It's kind of weird to me. I don't know. But this is a good change, though. The knock immunity down to 8 seconds. So basically, what I'm getting out of this is she'll have a little bit slower clear time on her Q, because Q is her main tool for clearing out the jungle, and this is gonna make her clear time a little bit slower and her scrapping in the mid and early game a little bit worse. But as a late game CC bot, if you build full tank, it'll be a buff because just that's 2 seconds in between the knock up. So you can like E into a fight, knock somebody up, and then if you're chasing them down or if you're trying to kite them out in a scrap, you can actually use it again a lot earlier. So this is an okay change, but I don't know. Not really a fan of Rek'Sai after these changes. I'll probably play her, but she won't be one of my priority picks. Sejuani is a bug fix where her W is working on turrets. I remember this. I was like, damn, like, how does Sejuani just, like, one-shot turrets? Like, she'll literally kill a turret and, like, almost, like, one W takes, like, a quarter of the turret's health. I mean, it's not one-shotting it, but it's like your Azir or something hitting the turret when it did that. I never really understood that, but I guess they took that out of the game. Scout of the Week stun collision has been widened slightly to feel less clunky. This is to go with the nerfs they did last patch with Syndra, and I think that, whatever, Syndra's in a weird spot right now. She kind of lost her identity as a lane bully, because a lot of champions can actually win the matchup now, and can actually win against her at level 6, because of the Q nerfs, but we'll see. I mean, Power of Evil is still playing Syndra, so she might still be good. The Zed changes. Base attack speed lowered, and attack speed growth stat has been lowered. This is gonna hurt Zed more in the Ghost Blade, where, like, right, that power spike right when he has Ghost Blade, Blade of the Ruined King, and Last Whisper, like, which is that's like the big core power spike for Zed, where you're like, wow, like he's just gonna one shot anybody now. It's gonna nerf that point, and it's also gonna nerf his split pushing and how fast he does it. But I don't know. Once Zed's actually reached 6 item, it doesn't really matter how many times they auto you. It just matters if they crit you one time. Like, if you get auto crit by a 6 item Zed who has like IE, you will literally get one shot no matter what. Like, even if you remove the death mark, you'll still just get one shot. It's just, I don't know. It'll make Zed a little bit less abusive, but he'll still be able to do his job, and he'll still be able to insta kill anybody. So not really that big of a nerf to Zed. And then just a bunch of texture rebalances, and this change. I really hate this change because before you could you just do your first clear, and you'd have enough, and you go back, get your jungle item, and you'd have enough potions to actually do a buff and maybe like an extra jungle camp, and then you could use the potions to heal, and then go around the map and do what you need to do. But with this gold change, it's gonna make it to where you don't have those extra potions. So this is a serious change to a lot of junglers mid games. And you're just not gonna really have that flexible mid game where you can just go out there and gank or farm. Like, you have to make the choice. You're like, I'm gonna gank this lane, or I'm gonna farm this jungle clear out. Because if you do any camps and then do the gank, you're gonna be way too low health because you won't have any potions. So I don't know. I don't really like this change. I like having flexibility in the jungle, and this kind of like feels like you're tying my hands behind my back. Aether Wisp. Let's see. Made it 850 gold. Who even gets this? I mean, people get Lichbane get this item, but Lichbane's not that popular of an item right now. So, I don't know. Some people get Ghosties, I guess, but it's such a weird stat value for 850 gold. It's like I could get a Blasting one, or I could get a little bit of movement speed and like a tiny bit of AP. It's just a weird item overall. I don't know. Don't play. I don't. Blackfire Torch has been removed from the game. Oh no! That's basically the DFG of 3v3. So, bye bye. Elixir of Iron. This is just. I didn't even know that it's stacked additively, but I guess they're just toning down the tenacity on it, which is pretty good because you don't want people just completely immune to your CC. I like this change a lot. This is a really good change for junglers because it's not very often that you back with like 1,000 or more gold on a jungler. So it's like you're in the struggle to save up for this Giant's Belt. And then once you get the Giant's Belt, you're like committed. You're like, well, I guess I got to get Randuins now, even though they're like all AP, just because there's not many times when you back and you're like, you're just sitting there on 1,000 gold. So it's really rough. It's like the same predicament people get in when they back with 1,600 gold on a mage, and they're like, damn, I don't even need to build Death Cap or Hourglass right now, but I got 1,600 gold. Like, when am I going to have this again? And you just end up buying the item straight out. And I think that Giant's Belt really put people in those kind of situations a lot. So it's nice that it builds out a Ruby Crystal now and then has a recipe. Because if you're missing a little bit of health in your early and mid game, you can just buy a bunch of Ruby Crystals, and hell, you can probably change them into Giant Spelled items or Magic Resist items. So this is going to make it a lot more accessible to get health if you need it in the early and mid game. I really like this. Is probably the best change of the patch, the Giant Spell change. Hexblade, Hextech Gunblade. This item I've never seen build. Nobody builds this outside of Akali, but this is a buff to Akali overall, I think, by adding more AP on it, and they lower the AD. I don't know. Akali's will still get this, but I don't think any other champion's going to get this item. It's just too expensive for what it does, so I'm not down. Rod of Ages will now show the number of stacks it has on the item icon. Whoop-de-doo-dah. Bug fixed where you could kill wards because they'd be out longer. This is hilarious. I actually like that the wards are out longer. It just gave you a lot more time to kill the wards and screw people. They're trying to secure vision in an area. But it's pretty annoying for competitive, but it was fun for like level 1 fights in solo queue. The Z portal, I literally have never seen this item built in a game, and I've never built it myself, so I have like no comment on this item. I don't know, yeah, fuck this item. Dragon, they increase the attack range to 500 from 350, and increased base damage has been reduced so that overall damage per second remains the same. Okay, well these are just like dragon. I guess there's exploits, reduce exploits and improve his feel. Well, I guess there was a bunch of dragon exploits that you could do with his attack range, but I never really did much of that. I think that a lot of this has to do with like level 1 dragon cheesing champions and things like that. So, whatever. Rank team decay, don't care. Nemesis draft. This will be kind of interesting. In-game audio settings. Okay. This is just, yeah, this is all just in-client stuff. Well, that's the end of the patch note, guys. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys next time.